Okay, well, good afternoon. As the chairman just said, the last presentation of the day, and hopefully one of the best of the day. The previous speaker said we're changing the focus. Well, this is changing the focus again. We're moving to potash and Spain. We're a Australian-listed company, a Highfield Resources, and this is an artist's impression of what we are going to build in the province of Navarra and Aragon in northern Spain. Okay, so this is Spain, of course, and the project and the location is northern Spain. We all live, the executive team all lives here in Pamplona, including myself. We all live here, and we have a suite of tenements going in a southeasterly direction from the city of Pamplona. There were two mines that operated here historically, which were shut down about 30 years ago, government-run mines. And so it's a known potash district, and it's the Ebro River Basin. And our project, the Muga project, and Muga means border in Spanish, sits across the border between Aragon and Navarra. Hence, it's called Muga. Our plan is to have a two-phase development, 500,000 tonnes of potash first phase, followed by a further 500,000 tonnes in the second phase, taking us to a million tonnes of potash. And I'll come back to it a little bit later, but really what differentiates this project from any other potential development on the planet is our location. That is really the key attribute of this project and what really differentiates us. So this afternoon, I just really wanted to touch on 5 key points, which are potash thematic, permitting status, some of the detail behind the world-class Muga mine, the location, and the current financial position of the company. So first point, the potash thematic. Fairly simple, really, but possibly not that well understood, but it's very simple, really. World population growing every year. And this is UN data and projection, and the food and the protein production required to feed the population, obviously matching that growth in world population. And as the world population increases, the arable land available decreases. So there's only one simple answer to that. You've got to get more from less, and potash is one of the 3 key constituents of fertilizer around the world. The key commentators, be they CRU or Argus or even the big corporates like Nutrien, etc., all reflect on a 2.5 to 3% growth rate in potash year in, year out for as far as you can see. And certainly historically, as we've mapped it in the last 6 or 7 years, 22% growth rate in potash demand. So it's a different commodity, and it's a very attractive commodity to be in. And I'll talk a little bit later, but just maybe reflect on that. One of our key shareholders is EMR Private Equity Group, very, very successful private equity group that owns 30% of the company, and they focus on 4 key commodities for gold, copper, coking coal, and potash. Point number 2, permitting. Permitting is very well advanced. We received at the end of May, 1st of June approximately, our positive environmental approval from the highest authority in the land, with obviously the European oversight. Not easy to secure these sorts of permits in the European context, and this is a really strong statement about the environmental and social commitments that the company has made. And in that process, there are about 60 different reports submitted by various entities, authorities, NGOs, community, etc., and that resulted in a positive environmental outcome, as I said, about 4 or 5 months ago. We're now into the next stage of the permitting, which is a mining concession and construction permits, and all of these entities that need to provide that support have all provided their input in the environmental approval process. So nothing new, no new people to deal with, and really we're into a process with these guys, a group of people that are very committed and aligned and working with us collaboratively to secure these permits. We estimate that the time frame from about the 1st of June, 12 to 18 months, so getting into construction in about the second half of next year. And then a 2-year build for the project, for the first stage of the project, to produce the 500,000 tonnes of potash. Point number 3, it's a world-class mine, will be a world-class mine. It's different to other possible potash developments for a couple of key reasons. First reason is the ore body starts at only 350 meters depth, and we have no aquifer sitting on top of it, so you don't have to sink a deep shaft. Typically, you've got to sink a shaft 1,000 meters plus. You've got to freeze an aquifer as you're going through it. We don't have to do any of that. We can access the ore body with declines directly into the ore body, so the low capital cost as a consequence of the location of the near surface location of the ore body. All underground, of course, and then that's the first reason. The second reason is the tremendous infrastructure that exists around where we're located in Navarra and Aragon. This is a picture of a highway which is only 4 or 5 kilometers from the mine gate, and links directly to the ports and the other outlets that we'll have for our product. Power infrastructure in northern Spain is tremendous, and we have local power available and already signed up agreements with the local power authorities, and that is a graphic impression of what the facilities will look like. Low aspect, underground mine, and very attractive. We must talk a little bit about social commitments and also the support of the local community. The battery seems to have failed here. There we go. This picture here is me in the middle there. That is all the mayors of all of the local towns plus their town councils that came to a presentation that we made a couple of months ago. Tremendously supportive. They can see the jobs. We will create about 800 jobs. The wealth. This is a 30-year project, by the way. So it's multi-generational, multi-decade wealth generation, job generation, and of course jobs for or support for the community, in which there's depopulation is a key issue in most parts of rural Spain. So very, very strong support from the local politicians, if you like. And this is an event we held recently. We held these fairly regularly. 400 people came through an open doors event we had, and all tremendous support for the project. And again, this is community people, local community people looking for jobs. We've had more than 3,000 CV applicants for jobs. This slide, a little bit busy here, but really talks to what we've been doing in recent times. We've been working on the optimization of the project and recently put out some announcements about the impact of work we've been doing with a very big, very capable German consulting company, GEA, improving recoveries, bringing on vacuum salt as a byproduct for sale earlier, residue management, and all overall enhancing the environmental commitments that we have as described in the environmental permitting document that we got about at the end of May. Also recently signed up an MOU with a very big trading house for about half of our initial production, Amaropa, based in Zurich, and we've got other MOUs on the table. But so very real interest in the Muga product. Acciona, one of the largest Spanish contracting companies, committed to with us through an MOU, which we're currently turning into a contract. What that means to us in terms of the output, we've got a very low cost at the mine gate of 82 euros per tonne. When CRU plot this data against the rest of the world and the rest of the peer group in terms of potash producers, all the big potash producers, we come down very low here in the bottom 10%. And I should note very quickly that the global potash market is about 67 million tonnes, and we will make 1 million tonnes. 67 million tonnes, 75% of that is dominated by 6 or 8, probably 8 key players, Russians, Canadians, and a little bit out of the Middle East. So 1 million tonnes of our production, very important, especially in the European context, but will not upset the dynamics of the world space. But that's not the key question or the key criteria or parameter that people should look at. People should look at what is the profit back at the mine gate, because it's expensive to get your bulk commodity into the marketplace. We are down at the top of the curve here, and the reason for that, as I've articulated up front, is the location of the project. 5-star location. We're located here in northern Spain. We're sitting in the center of an intensive agricultural region. We can get our product, MOP, muriate of potash, within 200 or 300 kilometers on a truck to customers, to blenders, to off-takers, right from the mine gate. We have a railhead 45 kilometers from the mine site. We can go south into Spain. We've got a railhead here on the border with France, so we can go up into northern Europe. We're within 200 kilometers. We're on those highways that I just showed you. We have 2 ports within 200 kilometers. We can get on ships at those ports, and we can go across the Atlantic straight into Brazil. Brazil is a very deep market. 10 million tons of that 67 million tons is consumed in Brazil, and they make nothing. And it's a very deep market, so the Russians and the Canadians, where the big players are that I referred to earlier on, they have to come 2,000 kilometers across land. In the case of the Canadians, down the western seaboard, through the Panama Canal, 9,000 nautical miles. And that's what adds up to the actual cost, the profit back at the mine gate, which is why we remain so very attractive. We can get into into the Brazilian marketplace within about 18 days from port, which is about half the time and half the cost that it costs that it would take the other players in Russia and Canada. And remembering we're, in the scheme of things, only a medium-sized player. So really, it is a location on top of a very good project, which makes this so very attractive. Last point, strong financial position. I did mention earlier on, EMR capital, 30%, very strong, long, very committed to the project, looking to us to get into production, because that's where the real value will come. Australian Super, another very significant Australian investment group, superannuation fund, holding about 5%. So very strong supporters there. The project capex, 2 stages, remember, 368 million euros for the first stage, about 200 million euros for the second stage. When you put that together, convert it to US dollars, you're talking at about 600 million US dollars to bring on 1 million tons of potash. That's $600 a ton. To develop the same capacity mine in other parts of the world, in more remote areas, because of the depth and the location and the infrastructure, that number is about half to a third of what it would cost elsewhere. So our capital intensity is extremely attractive. I've already talked about the operating costs, very, very good there, down at the bottom 10%. When we've run the financials, that results in NPV8 of almost 2 billion euros, IRR 25%, and EBITDA at the full production of over 300 million euros. So very, very attractive outcomes for the project. We currently have about just a touch under 30 million euros. That's Aussie dollars there, 45 million Aussie dollars at 30th of September. We're well cashed up, well positioned, taking the project forward from where we sit today to take us through to the next stage, through the permitting, through the detailed engineering, placement of long lead items of equipment, etc., etc. I should note that about 4 years ago, the company considered that we might be getting our environmental permit a little faster. The banks, 3 big European project finance banks, went through full due diligence and provided us with 185 million euros of debt credit approval. Since that time, potash's prices improved and our financial outcomes are somewhat better. So we don't know what the number is today, but we're certainly, those banks are still very much engaged with us, and we continue to keep them warm and expect that they'll be there for the longer term. And on the balance side, plenty of options for us in terms of the equity side, etc., etc. So I'm getting the nod here from the chairman. Key takeaways: 5-star location. Potash is a global strategic commodity, competitive cost position, robust financial outcomes, strong ESG commitment, and a very qualified and experienced team, which I haven't had a chance to talk about, but just look at the website and you'll see who our board of directors are, and you'll see how strong and very strong that is. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.